You're all going to die. You're all going to die. You're all going to die, 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 die. Die, die, die. You're all. Hi, friends. Welcome to Unwritten Rules of the Road. We have a very amazing special friend
Oh,
today.
come on
Jim
now.
Semonik. Yes, yes. I have to shout your praises. Um, I first met Jim actually when you were doing our Pittsburgh show with Ice and Tilla, and you were on
Wow.
stage.
That was a long,
Yes.
long time ago.
It was, it
It,
was.
that was at
And
what? Cativo, right? Cativo,
yes,
I
at
think. Yeah.
Kativo.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. So this is when I was first introduced to the amazing Jim and Distortion Productions, which has been around since 2000. Um, yes, you see that uh,
Oh,
Jim. It's also in Red Locust, which I am representing
oh,
today.
look at that. Wonder where
I'm
you
glad I
got
didn't wear
that.
my dis. I was gonna wear the same one that you were wearing actually, and I was like, I'm gonna wear Red Locust and represent that. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I love your background, by the way. That show, man, I'm trying to think of when that was, like 2016, maybe 2017. Yeah, that was a good one. I Distortion was just started as a concert promotion company back in 2000. It wasn't a record label until 2012. Out of They grew out of us doing Electronic Saviors 2, basically. It wasn't until like the guy I was doing Saviors 2 with, Chase, he was in had a project called Boxed Warning, and which was like this like instrumental sort of intelligent techno kind of project. And um he was like, I have an album ready to go. I want to release on disc, but I want to do it on a label. And I'm like, well, I can, point you into some directions on where to submit. And he was like, no, I want to do it on our label. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not ready for that. And so I credit Chase as the one that sort of, gave me the kick in the butt to start the label, because I wasn't, it's something I had always wanted to do, but I wasn't really ready at the time. And when everything started to kick off, after we put out Chase's album, there was another band from Pittsburgh here called Shut Down that we signed, and then Stephen Archer came on board with his Stoneburner project. So I always tell people we were the first label to sign Stoneburner. So there's our street cred. And but we went on to work with like some really like big names right out the gate that I definitely wasn't ready for, like Anish from multitude of acts, KMFDM, Slick Idiot, Pigface. He's been in all of those. And I've listened to KMFDM since high school, so it was kind of surreal to release two solo albums by him. And then Dope Stars Inc. happened, and then Klaus Larson's Amtier Park project happened, and it just kind of went from there. But like I wasn't ready to really deal with such big names so quickly. uh so yeah, I mean, I love doing it though, and here we are, 150 releases later. And we're still going strong, so yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, when you first started things off, did you have an idea of how you were going to approach the label,
No.
or
No idea. I I always have in mind, and you can see this with each electronic saviors comp that we do. um I have like a wish list of people that I want to work with. And it doesn't always happen, for one reason or another. People are busy, people have crazy schedules. And so there are still some on the wish list that I would love to work with. But you know when I starting as a label, I kind of was already working with a lot of people that I would have wanted to work with, but they were all on labels or had deals or whatever. But if ever, an artist, didn't have a deal, or was freed up, or I did a show for them in Pittsburgh, if they completely blew me away, I would always approach them and be like, wow, you guys are amazing tonight. Do you ever want to work together? Just hit me up. I'm always around. So I kind of go from that kind of perspective. It's actually how I signed Solemn Shapes and the Russian White, is they were on tour together. And I love both of their live acts, their live shows. And approached them that night and was like, let's do something, let's work together. And so yeah, I really like working with those guys.
I love it. I mean, I think it's amazing that your approach has actually been to think of being of service. Like you mentioned, it started with Chase and wanting to help your friend out, and then, thinking about other people that you are genuinely inspired by, where you're like, I love to help you out. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Um, if For those who are new to you, could you share what Electronic Saviors is all about?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we only have a limited amount of time. How much?
It's as much
How?
time as you would like to share, so.
I didn't know how long you guys like to go for. I mean, I can talk a blue streak for hours.
Oh, please do. Please do. Do
So,
not tempt me with a good
uh,
time, so go for it.
so I okay. Well, a lot of people know that it stems from me being sick. I got sick in the 2000s. I was actually sick a long time before I knew it. In 2008 is when I was diagnosed with stage 2B colorectal cancer. And I when I talk to my doctor about it now, as opposed to back then, because I still see the same guy who my surgeon, Dr. Medich, he which, you know, and the context of electronic saviors, you guys have all heard me talk about this guy because he's amazing. But um, he he tells me that at the time they staged it at 2B, but if they would have staged it now, uh, like here 15 years later, whatever, they would have staged it at a 3. So I feel, you know, I was telling Stephen Archer this the other night. I still feel incredibly lucky, you know, because there's a lot of people who had the exact same thing that I had, but they're gone and I'm still here. And just as you know, several examples. My friend Corey Devlin from the band Dead on TV, he was diagnosed really young with the same thing, and by the time they caught his, it was stage 4. It was in his liver already, and this was around the time we did the release party for Electronic Saviors 3 in Chicago, and they were one of the bands that played. And he took me aside during sound check and took me outside and, you know, asked me like, hey, you know, when you were going through everything, what were some of your symptoms? Like, what were you going through? And I told him, you know, I'm very open about it. So the more educational I can, you know, be about it, the more people can learn and maybe get the proper screenings, because it is happening at a younger age, colon and rectal cancer. So you know, you know, explained to me what was going on, and I was like, you need to get your ass to a doctor right now. You know, as soon as this is over, you know, tomorrow, get on the phone, make an appointment. And he gave me a call like 2 weeks later. He was like, I have bad news. He was like, I have stage 4. It's in my liver. You know, they got me on this program, you know, this big schedule of chemo and radiation, this big plan, like similar to what they did with me. Um, I was diagnosed in 2008. This was in 2014. So I had already recovered, and to the point where I could give him advice on what to do and what to expect. So, uh, you know, but by the time we did volume 4 in 2016, he was gone, you know, and Blaine Alexander from the band Insight 23 and Idiot Stare, like same thing. Chadwick Boseman, same thing. Almost, and these guys, some of these guys were my age, and you know, so there is you know, kind of a survivor's guilt thing that I carry, and always remember that, you know, I never lose sight of the fact that I'm here to do this for a reason, and not only Electronic Saviors, but the label, because it extends, you know, beyond just putting out music. It's about, you know, connecting with people and individuals from every walk of life, and uh, trying to understand the struggles and what people are dealing with. So, but back to, you know, the origin of this whole thing, it was in 2008 was when I was diagnosed, and a stage 2B tumor of that magnitude. I was told uh, it had grown like on the wall, but hadn't gone through the wall yet into like the lymph nodes and stuff. So that's kind of it was a good place to be. But I asked my doc, I'm like, how long would I have had this for? And he said 8 years. 8 years
Wow.
would have
Wow.
would have been when it started. Now I had just turned 31. So um like I would have been 23 when that would have started. Like colon cancer is very slow growing, so you can catch it early. And he was like, yeah, 23. You know, I'm like, what 23-year-old thinks of that? And like, people are gonna have to start thinking about that, because the very real uh you know, reality of what we're living in now. And so they put me on a program, chemo radiation. This was during the summer months. uh I was diagnosed in May, so they were like, you're going to do 5 weeks of chemo radiation, which is radiation 5 days a week. Chemo, which came in the form of a pill called Xeloda, was you know, this little pink pill that I took 3 in the morning and 3 at night. So it was like 6 pills a day. And during that time, I would have a once a week injection of that's where you sit in the chair and the chemo drains into your arm. And after that 5 weeks, I would have 12 weeks off where I would just basically, um, you know, get checkups and, they would monitor it. And because they tell you that the chemo doesn't work while you're getting it, it works after you're done,
Mm.
primarily. And same with the radiation. The radiation was zapping the cancer cells like very quickly because I was examined at the beginning of that 12 weeks. And during that 12 weeks, I went on vacation with my friends in Las Vegas. And I was examined before I left, and the tumor had shrunk considerably. One of them, I had two. Um, and and when I came back and I got examined again, it was completely gone. So uh, they said that at the end of that 12 weeks, which would make it September, that's when I would have my surgery. They were like, even though, the tumor was disintegrated by the treatment, we still have to take that portion of you. And, we're going to take 18 inches of your large intestine, and we're going to take your gallbladder too, because gallbladders tend to get irritated by chemo. Um, and then you're going to do 24 weeks after that of a more intense kind of preventative chemo, and no radiation though. So that was different. They wanted me to do 24 weeks after my surgery, which is cycles of three cycles of 8, so 24 weeks. I made it through 9 of those weeks before it almost killed me because they doubled the dosage of the chemo pill, and but the injection went to every 3 weeks, so it works differently. And so they stopped, they stopped it because it gave me pancreatitis and it almost killed me. So after that, I had an ileostomy bag on my stomach, and they reconnected that. And so during that time, I had the idea. I was like, you know, I might not make it through this. Um, so I want to maybe reach out to everyone I'd ever worked with in the capacity of if I brought them through Pittsburgh, or if I, met them through DJing, because I was DJing a lot back then, a few nights a week. And I used to buy music like crazy. Since I don't DJ anymore, I don't buy a whole lot like the music like that anymore. But I was walking home with, I work in a manage a record store, so it was easy for me to get music. So, um, and after that whole like sort of ordeal, um, I'm like, I should, I thought of a project that I, came up with the name Electronic Saviors on a drive home. So maybe I can help out other people, or educate at least other people who are going through this that might benefit from the knowledge of what I had to go through, so that maybe they don't have to. Uh, and so I just started contacting people. So Ned from Stromkern, Tom from Assemblage 23 was one of the first people, Eric from Interface, and Eric from 16 Volt, where those were like 4 of the first people that said yes to this project. And I'm like, it would have to be a new song. Um, and uh, so that it would have that much more of an effect. And I didn't realize back then, I'm like, didn't think that that would be that much of an ask, to write a new song and put, but apparently it was. And that was like kind of alien to me. Like, I'm like, really, just to write a song? I'm like, yeah, and it still kind of is, because if someone asked me to do something like that, regardless of if I was on a major label or not, and I don't care about what red tape there is, as far as like labels not wanting to release a new song of one of their bands on. I just think that's crap. I hate that mentality, and I get you're protective of your artists and all, but like, we're talking about, helping out people. So I didn't think it was that big of an ask. And so some people were like, well, I'm not going to write a song, but, I have this exclusive remix that I can give you, and I'm like, well, that's cool. I like that song. So an exclusive mix of that song would be cool, and that tended to be like the main thing going forward. And I had two friends of mine that went to school at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh at the time, and they were neighbors, Jeff Confer and Samantha Johnson. I'm actually waiting for a very important text from Sam here in a couple hours, because tonight is when Electronic Saviors Volume 7 goes for pre-order. So as soon as I get off here with you, I have to go and do that. And I'm waiting for the completed artwork to reveal to the world tonight from her. I've seen the rough drafts of it, and it's amazing. But those two, who became very good friends of mine, became basically the face of the project. They've done every single box set, the artwork. The Jeff will do the pencils and the inks, and Sam will do the colors and the layout. And so we ended up having, I think, 83 bands on that first one. And then one afternoon, I was driving home from work, and I looked down at my phone, and it says Dave Heckman on the phone. And I'm like, oh my God. And I immediately started sweating, because I had never met Dave before. I was intimidated by him. I knew everyone else over at Metropolis Records, everyone else, like Jim Smith and Shannon and Tom Donovan and Joe Schulteis. Like, I knew all those dudes for many years just from dealing with them at the store. Because we would every week it was a phone call between me and Jim, or Jeff Lyons, and I would order Metropolis product for the store. So I can't remember who it was. It was like, you should really talk to Dave about your cancer project. I bet he'd be into that. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've never actually met Dave or talked to him. So I'm kind of, I had so much like sort of respect for him because of, I love Metropolis Records still to this day. Love Metropolis Records. I mean, just really, really great people. And so I talked to Dave, and for about an hour, which if you ask anyone who has had, Dave passed away a few years ago, and he's a wonderful man. A conversation with Dave that you think might last 5 minutes can turn into just a long conversation about music, and we talked about healthcare and what the state of the country was back then, and it was, I instantly connected with him, and I miss him, man. And he if I tell people that if he wouldn't have called me that day, because I was still going through it, and I'm not so sure I would have made it. It was rough, and Dave kind of gave me something to fight for, and like a goal, like something to focus on, which I think you really need if you're going through that. And that comp came out February of 2010. We went out, we did a bunch of release party shows, a bunch of really memorable ones. There was one in DC, there was one in Chicago. Those two stand out, because there were just like a large amount of bands on both that came out to do this thing for me, and I was just incredibly touched. And back then I was in a band called Reinforced, and this was before Red Lokust, and so we were playing those shows too. But to get up on stage and do shows with people like Wade from Christ Analog, and yeah, seeing Acumen Nation play, For This Cause, just amazing to me. And I met a ton of new people, just patrons, coming to the thing, and fans being like, oh, it's so great to see you out here. And then you hear their stories about what it meant to them, or you hear there was this one stands out to me from back then is this guy Chris Saunders. He his wife contacted me and said he was really sick, and he didn't have much longer to go, but that Electronic Saviors was a big deal in their house. And like they all got tattoos of the gear cross, the Savior's gear cross. And I'm like, wow, that just blows my mind, you know. And I've had a couple other people like show me their Electronic Saviors tattoos, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe you. I don't even have one of those. I don't have any tattoos. And I'm just like, that's crazy. You know, you put something on your body that I created that, you know, you're gonna have forever. You know, that's insane. But so that first volume ended up raising 23,500. Yeah, and we donated to this charity in Harrisburg, uh, and I thought that would be it. You know, after I'm like, wow, you know, look at what we did. You know, and then Chase was, you know, I asked him, I was like, do you think Metropolis would let us do a second volume? You know, if we wanted to do a second volume and like expanded it like to 6 discs. And the second volume, which at that point came out in 2012, was when I was getting my checkups about, you know, cancer recurrence, and having it come back and spread, and you know, people don't generally survive the recurrence because it comes back a lot more aggressively. So that was kind of what I was fearing at the time. So I'm like, well, if we do it, that's what it's got to be called, you know. And so I remember when we sent the email over to Metropolis, and I was like, could we do a six disc, you know, sequel? And they didn't even say yes or no. They just sent us the template for the CD, which was their way of saying, yes, here's your template, go to work, you know. And so yeah, it was pretty awesome. And so the second volume ended up, we did the same thing, went out, played shows that summer. It had shifted. Now Saviors was coming out in the springtime, and then we'd go out all summer and promote it. And that time we raised 10K in addition to the 2023 from the first volume, and we donated to the Bone Marrow Foundation and Gilda's Club of Western PA for that one, who eventually became our clubhouse, which was what they're still called to this day, I think. We did volume 3 in 2014, another 10K. Volume 4 in 2016, another 12K. Volume 5 came out in 2018, 15K, and Volume 6 came out in 2020. Now, Volume 6 was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be the last one. Because at that point, I was full blown into the record label. Doing this and Electronic Saviors was like I didn't have that much bandwidth to have a full blown day job, to do, you know, a cancer project and a record label. You know, at that point we had like 20 bands on the roster of the label. So and I wanted the label to grow and put a lot more focus there. So volume 6 came out, I was working on volume 6. It was done, it was being mastered, and then the pandemic happened. Mm-hmm. So we did not get to close the door on the series in the way that we wanted to. We didn't get to go out and promote it, play any shows. I didn't get to see anybody's smiling faces. I didn't get to give anybody hugs. It sucked. And but that volume ended up being our most successful one ever, and it did sell out. Like the first one sold out too, but the sixth one sold out, and we ended up raising 25K, which with that we hit the 100K mark, because in between those years we would do like these smaller donations, so that, you know, the totals kept stacking up, and I'm like, yeah, 6 is going to put us over the goal, which I always, you know, was fictitious goal. It was something that I just kind of wanted, in the back of my head. Like, it'd be really cool to get to 100 grand. And we actually did it. And now, to this day, we're at 117.
Wow.
And the whole point of, I say that 6 was the last one, and I was not lying. I was not lying. 6 was the last one. I was just going to do the, like the soundtrack spinoffs that I do, like we did with The Crow and Transformers and The Lost Boys. I was just going to continue to keep the brand going with releases like that. And that was like going to be the future of the project, because that way it was on a smaller scale that I could, still release those and still have the band, the project out there, like as the, the branding as part of the label, but then I was out in Mechanismus in 2023, and I did a panel for Electronic Saviors out there with a couple of the label guys. And because we had played that festival as Red Lokust, and we'll be back out there this summer to do panels and play again. And Christian from Cop International Records and Nina from Metropolis, Dave's daughter, were in the audience of the panel. And so the question of, Electronic Saviors Volume 7, was always something that people were like, hey, where's Volume 7? Why didn't you do a Volume 7? Why didn't you just keep going? And I'm like, well, for a multitude of reasons, really. One of them is it's a gargantuan amount of work to do. It takes a lot out of you. It's very, very stressful. You'll get to like 2 months before due date and be like, you'll need like half the comp still. And I'll be like, guys, due date's in 2 months. 30 days goes by. Guys, due date's in 1 month. Like, I still need like 30 tracks. It's just incredibly stressful, because at that point you don't know if it'll actually happen. And so there were, people being like, what would it take to get you to do 7? And I'm like, 3 things, and they're almost impossible. And the first one is that Metropolis would have to agree to come back and partner up like they did with the 6 past volumes. And Nina shouted out from the audience, we're on board. And Christian was like, we're on board too. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's one. Maybe that's not as hard as I thought it would be. And the second one would be to get Sam and Jeff back for the artwork. Because at this point, back when I first met them, they were a couple. They were dating and lived by me. And by the time Volume 3 came out, they had split up and lived in completely separate areas of the country. But continued to work together, which was cool. And did 4, 5, and 6, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Together. And but at this point, people grow and they change, and I didn't know if they were even doing art anymore, but now, like, Jeff's a Krav Maga instructor, and he's doing a tattoo apprenticeship. So imagine you've seen that artwork. You imagine like some of Jeff's art on you as tattoos. Like, it's just incredible. He's an incredible artist, very underrated. And Sam is getting into farming. So I'm like 2 phone calls after Mechanismus. They both agreed to come back. But the third circumstance is the hardest one of all, and that's that every track had to be brand new. No remixes, no B-sides, no what I call table scrap tracks, where where hey, we just had this track lying around here, I guess you can have it for Saviors. Not that I take that stuff for granted, because some of those remixes are dope as hell, but it's a lot more heart goes into creating a new song. And I'm pleased to say that this Volume 7 is all new songs for the first time ever. Like, It usually was like sort of a 50-50 or a 60-40 percentage wise. The first volume had a decent amount of new tracks on it, but there were still, like 30% remixes on there, but there's no remixes on this. This is all new stuff. And the amount of talent we have on this thing is mind blowing. Like I was just listening to the master earlier today, discs 3 and 4. And I still have to listen to 5 and 6 before I completely sign off on them. So that's my workout music for later. But yeah,
Nice,
am I
nice.
talking too much? Is this too much?
No, no, it's awesome. I just wanted to tell you, as Talon Turf said, they have all 6 and they're going to order 7 as soon as it goes up.
eight
That is
o'clock.
awesome.
8 o'clock
Nice.
Eastern. I
Love
still have
it.
to go on. If it's a couple minutes late, don't be mad. It is going up tonight. I'm waiting on that. Let me see. Let me see if we got a. Let me see if we got a text from Sam yet here.
And
No,
while you
no,
are looking, oh, not
no,
yet.
no text for
C
Sam.
CJ is sharing that they love your unabashed love for comic books, and was wondering if you have a favorite writer or series.
Oh my goodness, this is my question. This is like I was hoping someone would ask me this. Um, okay. Yes, I do. Let me respond to the first guy who
Oh,
has all
yes.
6. Kudos to you, first guy who, what was his name?
It's actually Astal on Turf. It's Renee.
Oh,
So yes,
Renee.
yes,
Oh, I'm
yes,
sorry. I'm sorry.
yes. All good, all
Thank
good.
you. Thank you for all that support. There are some people that I know that do have all 6, especially having that volume 1, man, because that's really hard to get now. But I will say this. Extra bonus points if you have the premium editions of 2, 3, 4, and
Ooh.
and 6, especially because eventually 6 is going to be the hardest one to get because we did not, for volume 6, we did not put that through a national distribution chain. Volume 1, Hot Topic took that. So you were able to find that in Hot Topics and Best Buys, and it was pretty widely distributed. So if you can still find a copy of Volume 1, snag it because it's highly collectible now. But 6 eventually will be the hardest one to get, and I only have 8 copies of Volume 5 left. And after that goes, it's gone. I still have plenty of 2s, 3s, and 4s because there were higher pressings of those, but 5 is almost gone. So if you don't have 5,
Yeah.
grab 5. I only have, like I said, eight or 9 left, and before that's gone. But for my second guy, my comic book question, yes, Jim Starlin will always be my uh, heart and soul of comic books because he created my favorite character, uh, my favorite villain, I should say, and did the best stories of my favorite character. My favorite character being Adam Warlock, my favorite villain being Thanos. Um, yeah, definitely. If I had to, have a Mount Rushmore of my favorite comic book creators and writers, Starlin would be up there. James Roberts would be up there. Simon Furman would be up there. Jonathan Hickman would be up there. And yeah, so those are a few that I absolutely love. And as far as series goes, the More Than Meets the Eye run of Transformers by Roberts was insane, but the crown jewel champion would probably be the Infinity Gauntlet series from Marvel that Starlin wrote and that George Perez and Ron Lim drew. And I actually got to meet all of those dudes out at the amazing Comic-Con in Vegas a few years ago before George died. And yeah, pretty awesome stuff. Yes, but I am. You get me started on comics. That's like you put the dime in, you got to let the whole song play out because I could go on forever about that stuff, and you guys will fall asleep, and I'll still be talking.
I don't know. I think you have fellow fans on here. Pete is sharing that he loved seeing the Thanos copter in the Loki series.
Oh yeah, it was a cool little Easter egg. I have a little Thanos copter. It was this little cube. I think it was a San Diego Comic Con. Yeah, that was a cool Easter egg. Cool that someone picked that up and spotted that, and I wasn't the only one.
I love that. Oh, also, Renee was sharing that she met you in Madison like a year or two ago. Um,
Oh, that was a
yes,
great show. It was an amazing
yes,
show. Yeah, yeah.
and
Um,
yes. Also happy that she's able to get dinner before you drop the pre-order. So,
yeah, it is tonight. I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at my clock. I'm like, okay, yeah, I gotta do this. So I should probably get off of here in about an hour. And just so I can get those up. I still don't have the artwork. You know what? Pre-orders are going out no matter what tonight, so I might use an old version of the artwork if I don't have the new one yet. But it is coming. You guys are gonna love this artwork. Oh my God, it's so good. I
so
don't.
exciting.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, Micah is asking if you could share a memorable experience from your time. How do you stay creative and motivated in your work?
Um, how do I stay motivated? I can't do anything else. I Music has to revolve around everything I do. And I I feel like, and I had this discussion with Ilker from Regen Magazine during Cold Waves time. I kind of feel like it's always an uphill battle, and there's never a break. Uh, and people, there are people who don't understand why I do this still. 48 years old, and I don't know how much longer I can go. I'm just trying to. My motivation stems from when my dad passed away, and like shortly before he died, uh, I remember going to visit him, and he was, you know, my aunt was in the room at the same time. My aunt asked him what he was thinking about. He was like, just the stuff that he said was heartbreaking to me. It was like all this regretful stuff, and I heard that. I was just like, wow, I don't ever want to, you know, go out with that level of regret. I want to go out thinking, if I'm laying there at the end, I want to be like, wow, I did some awesome stuff. And I got to be with this person, or I got to, sing on stage with this band, or, I got to go on the road and touch people's lives. Like that's what motivates me is the fact that I can play on stage to 15 people and it still matters. I can come off the stage, and if one person comes up to me after and was like, man, that was amazing, here, can I buy you a drink, or thank you for doing this, and that's all the motivation it takes for me, really. I love these people, and I can't really, it's hard for me to articulate without getting emotional of what this scene and these people mean to me, because I wouldn't be here without them. You know,
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. I mean,
yeah,
it's not to get mushy, but like I tend to, whenever I do these interviews, I talk about deeply personal things, and because that I stream of consciousness, kind of thing. It doesn't. I'm open like that. I understand cancer is a very personal thing for some people, and some people are really private about it. Like Chad Boseman, like nobody even knew that he was sick. Not even Kevin over at Marvel knew that he was sick. I think just like his close family knew. Some people don't like to even talk about it.
yeah.
And so yeah, so that's if you were talking motivation, then that's kind of where that all stems from.
I think that's beautiful, and I think it's also a testament to, your incredible character, that, it's once again thinking of the giving. Like I've always known you as a person that is really just so giving and generous and kind. And we all love you for that.
Oh,
So
I love you guys too. I love you guys too, and thank you. But I will say that I'm also a taking person. So if anyone has any comics or action figures that they just want to give away of like some cool, I'll give you my list. And if anyone wants to send me some stuff, that'd be cool. But yeah, I mean, I'll take stuff too. I don't always have to be given.
Cranefish is sharing that your emotions are a testament to your authenticity and that we
uh,
love you, Jimmers.
that's my sister right there.
Oh,
Like
I love
that
it.
that young lady is oh my God, like she's I almost I consider her a soulmate. Like I connect with her on such a fundamental level. Like I don't get to see her often because we live far apart, and she's traveling the world. I don't she's probably in like Belgium or something right now. But yeah, what an amazing person she is. Yeah, she's incredible. So thank you, my dear. See you soon.
And Pete Russo is saying, "I've just met you, and I love you for it already, Jim."
Oh, thank you, Pete. Um,
Yes.
when did we meet? When did we meet?
Well, he's just met you just now.
Oh, just
Just
now.
now.
Okay.
Yes, just
All
now.
right.
Now.
Love you too,
Yes.
bro.
Yes. Pete is a wonderful, wonderful person. We got to meet Pete when we played actually in Savannah.
Okay.
And yes, and Pete brought us fudge and treats and yes. Hmm.
Wow.
Excellent,
What a
excellent cook.
guy.
Yes. Yes. So I actually wanted to like chat with you about like any advice that you might have for artists that are either starting out or would love to be a part of Distortion Productions, like if they're looking for a label, like what kind of things are you looking for when you're looking for a band?
Um, well, I always tell people, and I've made this mistake in the past with signing artists too quickly, rather than getting to know them first. Uh, and bands that don't play live, I think, is really hurts the artist. Is play live as much as you can. That's very important. Uh, and there's others that put a high um, importance on like digital streaming. I am not one of those people. I tell people that you can get the same amount of money selling a few CDs at a show or a vinyl at a show or a t-shirt in one night than you can get in 3 months of streaming. I'm like, I get that, a lot of people, like some promoters, look at that, look at your streaming numbers, and I don't look at that. I don't think that's important at all. Um, and I think it's lame for and is not a metric of talent by any means to look at a number of what you're streaming, uh, and think that this band is either worthy or not worthy to play this event or that show or that festival. That's crap. And because you don't know what these guys are doing on Bandcamp or what they're selling at shows. Like some of my most successful bands on the label have low Spotify numbers, but are very successful in selling their physical media. I have the exact opposite bands like that too, but it's every band is different. So you're never going to uh no two are the same in that way. So I always tell people play live as much as you can, but try not to do it too much in your own hometown. Try to get out there, even if you're only playing to, 5 or 10 people, connect with people, talk to them, hear them out, try to it's all about connecting with people. It's all about, you know, having some sort of commonality. What I look for how hard a band works. Because if you're not gonna really work on your band, why should I? Like Martin Atkins told me a long time ago that he once said to, his bands, I'll work on your band as hard as you will.
Mhm.
And that made so much sense to me. And that was in like 2003. He told me that, and I'm like, that's fantastic, And
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I I live by that same code. If I see you out there busting your ass, I'm more likely to put my energy behind you, uh, to push you further than, what you might think you can be. And some artists release an album and don't go out and, play a single show to support it. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Mhm.
I'm putting,
Yeah.
a ton of money, behind this, and I will say that I manage a record store. I don't have a six-figure salary. I have a very low salary. So I don't make the kind of living, that you guys might think of that I do, and it's, I do this, and not for monetary reasons, but for, the survival of this scene, this kind of music that got me through such rough times, and I kind of feel it's my way of contributing to this community and giving back to that, but there's only so much I can do if you're I put money behind your disc and your album, and paying for publicity, and you don't go out and play any shows. That just makes me angry, and I'm not an angry guy, and it's just like I just get frustrated, with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so certainly, if you're motivated, and you're out there and you're playing, and you maybe you don't even have your stage show together to where you want it to be, or you know but you're trying, you're making that effort. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
So if does
absolutely.
that answer the question? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's so helpful. And I mean, I just love that you're, you know, sharing the fact that it's like you see behind the numbers, you see like the energy and the effort and the intention that artists put,
Yeah.
you know.
There are some bands that deserve way more than they get.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I I won't ever, talk about my own projects or my own things, because I don't want to sound self-aggrandizing, but I do. We had a couple products on our merch table that did very, very well and helped the band get out of the hole that you start out in when you release an album. You want to make that money back. You want to make the publicity money back. You want to make the whatever you put into merch. You want to make all of that back. We got our own coffee, our own branded Red Locust coffee. But I saw, Lorelei Dreaming. They had their own branded soaps. Saphira V, she had her own, Saphira tea that she made, which I thought was, brilliant. And some people like even talked about having like craft beer, with their name on it. So try to go that extra mile, and think of something like a something that you could put your brand on that might, uh, I highly recommend doing the coffee thing, because everybody loves coffee, and we had coffee beans and we had ground, so we had two different options, and we sell out of that stuff all the time. It's great. So, and but at the same time, you, you know a year might go by where the label releases, you know like last year as an example, we had a really strong spring. We released the Metamorph album, the Trade Secrets album, the Glass Apple Bonsai, the Sensuous Enemy, and the Red Lokust, all within the span of 3 months. And then we released the Dicro album during the summer. That's the only thing we did during the summer. But then in the fall, we signed Inertia. We put out the Inertia disc and the Russian White album and the Interface record and a bunch of digital things too. Then the end of the year comes and you see all of like the people posting their top records, on their, the either the magazines or the, the taste makers of the scene, and they're posting, and like I'm looking through the list, not one Distortion release on these lists, and I'm just like, that when that happens, you get kind of like a punch in the stomach. It kind of feels like, wow, like why, just using my own record as an example. We released a new Red Lokust album in May. It's the best record I ever wrote in my life. It comes like so much from the heart, and it's real political and reflects a lot of what's going on right now in this country. And I'm just like, man, if a record that I put so much into can't at least show up on the radar of some of these people. I mean, it has shown up on the radar, obviously, of, some people, because we're playing Mechanismus this year. But, so there is that. But, from a journalistic standpoint, you're just like, you feel defeated. And then you have to pick yourself back up, dust yourself back off, and just keep going. And it's on to the next record. And it's on to the next, so it's not easy by any means. And I don't by any means want to sound like a whiny complainer when I talk about these things. It's just a fact of life. Mm-hmm. And it's a fact of being an artist. Mm-hmm. And you just have to keep trying, and you have to keep going. I mean, is it going to stop me from making music? No, it isn't. It might make me try to change up a few things, but when you've written what you consider to be the best material you ever have, it's hard to top that. And it's the same with the Saviors compilations, because, man, after volume 4, I didn't think I'd ever be able to top that. I mean, we had KMFDM on there, for Christ's sakes, and all stemmed from playing a gig with them. We played a gig with them. I asked Sasha to be on it, and he was like, hell yeah. And it was like, he was like, I'll send you something as soon as I get back from tour. And he did. It was like, I didn't even have to like poke him or prod him. He was just like, boom. And there are, I have a wish list of bands. I'd love Frontline Assembly to be involved with this. And, this, I know Skinny Puppy's not really doing anything anymore, but, there are bands of that caliber that I would love to, I mean, we've got Paul Barker on this one. We've got Mark from Cubanate on this one. We've got 16 Volt. We've got the first Acumen Nation track, which blows my mind that we have that, because it's, there hasn't been new Acumen Nation since Jamie died. And, very dearly missed individual, and it's just, I look at this track listing and I'm like, okay, this might be the one, but I did sort of hint that, if I was doing 7, then it opened the doors for an 8 and a 9, so
yeah,
it's probably not the end. Probably. We'll see how this one does.
So we get a maybe. There's a maybe.
We'll see. I mean, they all kind of, had to do with each other's success. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have been able to do sequels if they weren't successful and helped out people. We're working with a charity called Young Adult Survivors United. I really urge you guys to check them out. Stephanie, who is the owner, CEO, she is amazing, and we've been donating to them probably since volume 5. We've been sending them some money, but I mean, we're actually putting the logo on the back of the disc this time, And
Mm.
I had dinner with her a couple weeks ago, and I played her the track from Black Car Burning, which, for those of you who don't know, Black Car Burning is Mark Hawking's side project from Mesh. Now, this song will make you cry. This song will make you bawl your eyes out. It's called uh, I've got to carry on. I need to carry on breathing. Is what it's called. And
Mm.
whenever I first listened to this song, Mark sent it to me. He was like, I hope this song's good enough. I hope you enjoy this." And I'm like, "Mark, I can't believe you wrote this for me." And uh, I heard it at the exact same time that I needed to hear it.
Mm.
It's an incredibly emotional song, and is the soul of the compilation. But like, I was at work and I sat down. It was just like waterfalls coming out of my, like,
Mm.
listening to this. It's just so moving, and so and it took me right back when I was listening to this song. It took me right back to laying on that table and getting radiation treatments. Like, it took me right back there. I'm like, oh my God, I just closed my eyes, and that's all that went through my mind, was like being back in that room and getting zapped. And the cool thing was is that when I was getting radiation, they let me bring in my own music to listen to, which was
Mm.
cool. So I would bring in like my own CDs, like Chem Lab records. And people would be like, "This is some weird stuff you're bringing in." Like, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know how I got onto that, but
Well, I wanted to actually share some love that you've been getting in the chat.
oh, all right.
Yes, yeah. So Evil Radio said it's good to get mushy and emotional. It's definitely needed in this impersonal world. Keep up that energy.
I agree. I
100%.
agree.
Yeah,
Like, everyone's so
100%.
closed off these days.
Yeah,
So not me.
I
Not
love
me.
that. I love that. I feel like it is so needed. It is absolutely needed. Yeah. I feel like it opens the door, when you are able to do that for other people to do that as well.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just like, I'll tell you the same thing in person that I'll tell you here. It's, I just want to grab you by the shoulders and be like, it's okay.
Hmm.
It's all right.
Yeah, yeah,
So maybe right now some of us are feeling, very scared and you know, kind of very fearful, and if you know one of those people, you see one of those people, maybe you give them a hug, and maybe you hold that hug for an extra few seconds, and
yeah.
that might do something for that person that was, unexpected. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll feel better the rest of the day. Maybe
Hmm.
things aren't so bad whenever you're around people that you love.
Absolutely. It can make all the difference, that one hug. It really can.
Hmm.
Hmm. Clint Carney is also saying, "Love you, Jim. Keep doing what you're doing."
Love you, Clint. Thanks for coming on. Love you. Yeah,
And
his song's awesome too. Oh my God.
yeah.
That's another emotional one.
Shadow Dance is saying, "At any Distortion production show, it is always filled with love, support, and pure wonderful vibes. Thank you."
Oh, of course. And I don't know. If you come to my shows, thank you so much. We have one coming up with Amulet on April 5th, and Murder for Girls, which is a Pittsburgh band that you guys will love, and Doors in the Labyrinth. Both of those bands are on Savior 7.
Awesome.
Actually, all three, including Amulet. Amulet's on the main edition. The other two are on the premium. So yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for coming to my shows. You're what keeps it going, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I feel like, like you were saying, it's like in our community that we have, we're so fortunate to have people who truly care about the music and the people, and not in it for the money, just in it for the love,
Yeah,
truly.
I mean, it's nice to have money.
Yes, we do like that. Yes, that
Yeah, I
support is
mean that
nice.
that that
For sure.
that enables us to continue to do things, but
Yes.
it's not the focal point of it.
Hmm.
Like, I've been going back and forth and struggling on what to charge for the premium edition, and I hate that I have the price is so high on it because I've been asking a bunch of different people, like, what would you think? Like in 2020 when we did volume 6, the price on that was, $60, and you got all the discs, you got the bonus discs, you got the bumper sticker, you got the wristband, you got the autograph postcard, and I think I had an enamel pin back then. This time I'm putting a vinyl, like a 7-inch vinyl, as part of the package with the Chris Connolly Trade Secrets song on it, with our Red Locust remix on the B side, which is the only way you can get that. Um, but you also add into all the inflation that has happened since 2020. So
Mhm.
add in a vinyl record and inflation, and that's how I come to $90. And I'm like, I still think that might be a little low for the costs of doing this, but I'm trying to keep it as low as I can, you guys. I promise you. Um, but yeah, it's all the same. Same goes with the price, the ticket costs for shows now. Because the venue that I use got sold, and under the new ownership, the costs are increasing a great deal, like more than doubling, I think, for me, and so it's I have to adjust, unfortunately, and I hate that. So I'm trying to add some different things to shows. Like I'm going to stay and DJ after the show until 2 a.m. so that people can have like maybe a club night in addition to the live bands. So an added value of what you can expect on Distortion shows going forward.
I think it's interesting, like, when you come into certain challenges, that like you think like an artist, where you're like, okay, how can I creatively find a solution here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A funny little story from the other day. There is a vinyl manufacturer that opened in Pittsburgh here called Hellbender Vinyl. I highly recommend using them for your own. You guys want to get vinyl, unless you have a local place of your own. They're awesome to work with. And we just got the Everything Goes Cold 7-inch done, which, a few years ago we did an NH 7-inch, and it was opaque red. It came in this we put it in this 7-inch bag with a flap on it, like hard plastic, clear bag with a flap on it, and slapped a sticker on it. No artwork, no nothing, but it looked hot. It looked hot, like through the plastic. It looked like an attractive item that you could have on your merch table. We just did the same thing with Everything Goes Cold, and we're doing that with the Trade Secrets, which is going to be a hot pink vinyl for breast cancer. So um, Mike over at Hellbender Vinyl, he was like, "Hey, I hope you're not mad about this, but I kind of want to steal your hack." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "I love the design that you're doing for these 7 inches." That he was like, it can really help out, smaller artists that maybe don't want to spend the extra cash on the like a sleeve for the artwork and stuff, and it looks good. And he was like, "It's a brilliant idea, and we kind of want to like make that an item in our in-house." So he's going to run that by his management, and he was like, "We want to call it the Jimmers." Which I think is hilarious. And I'm like,
Oh, I love
"Yeah, I
that.
have my own product named after me. That's cool." I was like, "Yeah, do it if it can help out, struggling artists that want to have like a vinyl out, like a vinyl single, and they want to make it look good. Yeah, that's the way to go."
That's awesome. So George on Instagram is asking, thank you for your question, by the way. What kind of tips would you recommend for a band that wants to tour for the first time, and how do I book shows?
Um, a band that wants to tour for the first time. No, I want you guys all to know, in all transparency, I've never done a full blown like month long or 3 week long tour. I've only done like these little things where you go out for like 5 days at a time, and it's as hard for me as it is for anyone else. I hate booking shows. I hate it. I hate it so much. And like, I remember we were trying to get a gig. This was what, 2 summers. This is 2023. We were playing that gig out in Madison, and we played a gig in Pittsburgh, and we were trying to get something in between, and I couldn't get anything in any of those cities in between. No one would book us, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're doing a 13-hour long drive for one show, and it's because I couldn't get anything, in between there. So booking shows is what I hate the most about the business. I can't stand doing it. Um, don't wait for people to come to you. Try to know as many people that book shows as you can. Uh, and trust me, I know a lot of people who book shows, and still it's tough. Because like now venues are booking like 8, 12 months out,
Mhm.
which is insane to me. Like we're going to try and put together some shows during the summer for Saviors, where some Saviors bands can play. But like for a band that's just starting out, the this was a good hack that I learned from the Russian White guys. They just went out and they did like a 3-week long thing with Solemn Shapes in October, and they tricked their van out to where they could sleep in the back every night. They didn't have to get a hotel. They ended up, the tour ended up being very profitable for them because they saved so much money by doing that. So that's a great thing. I mean, that wouldn't work for me. Um, but I mean, that's super cool that they were able to do that. So if you're looking to go out long term like that, I mean, I'm 48. Long term touring does not appeal to me at all anymore. I like doing these like short little jaunts. Like maybe in June we'll do like a Northeast, Buffalo, Rochester, New York, Jersey kind of thing, Wilmington maybe. And then we'll go west in July and do Detroit, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, Madison, and then maybe go a little bit south, in August and do like Richmond, DC, Charlottesville, like down there. I like that's kind of what I plan to do. And if people want me to come out west, they got to send me a plane ticket because that's what'll get me out there. But yeah, I can't, like, I got to be realistic about it, what I'm able to do, you know. So
So
yeah,
it's a
that's
matter of just kind of figuring out, like, first of all, what you're able to do, and then also like kind of maybe picking regions, like,
yeah.
like being kind of strategic about like
Hmm.
I'm gonna hit these few like in this
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like try to go out and do like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 at a time. Uh, and that will probably make it worth it for you, but at the same time, uh, try to keep your costs down however you can. Crash with friends, make connections in your town if that's an option for you, in the towns that you're going to. Um, definitely, uh, if don't bombard your promoters with links. I highly recommend not doing that. uh, because I mean, people send me links all the time, for some of my bands do that on Messenger, and I'm like, I had to put a stop to that. I'm like, don't send me links in here. It'll get buried in a day and forgotten about. I was like, if you really want me to hear it, send it to my email. At least then I will see it every day, and I will get to it, or, send me a demo in the mail. That always works too. That way they don't put CD players in cars anymore. But I bought an external one to, Velcro to my dash so I could still listen to CDs in my car that plugs into the USB. So, yeah, so that's, oh, I got a text. I got to check, see
Oh.
it. Oh, it's Sam.
Oh.
She says, I forgot you're an hour ahead.
Oh.
I'm fine tuning the color shift for print. Almost done. Okay, it's coming, you guys.
These
So,
clothes.
yeah,
These
it's close.
clothes.
Yeah, she's out west. So she's in the Midwest, I guess. But
Gotcha. Yeah. So sending links, if you're going to do it, is best done through email.
email, yeah, and I even sending links, I think is not a great, unless it's to your Bandcamp. If it's to your
Hmm.
Bandcamp, then that's cool because I could just go on your Bandcamp and check you out. Uh, I always prefer to have something physical, but that's just the kind of person I am. I've kind of have that old fashioned kind of tangible, thing that I can, because I'm always driving to have a 45 minute commute to work every day, going and coming, both ways, 45 minutes. But, so I spend a lot of time in the car, uh,
Hmm.
and, you know, I do, going back to the guy who asked the question about, advice to, uh, for people trying to get signed to record label. Understand what kind of, like, if you're trying to get onto a label that's just run by one or two people, understand if they what they do for a living. If they have, like, speaking for myself, I have a day job. Like I said, I have a commute. I get up at 8 every morning. I commute. I open the store at 9:30. We close at 6:30. I'm home by like something after 7 usually. I have to eat dinner. I have to play with my dog. Otherwise she'll get mad at me. Uh, and then I have to, basically, go through my physical mail and see what bills I have, and then so by the time I get to my laptop to like check my computer, it could be like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and when I'm doing electronic saviors, forget about it, because I have to listen to these tracks. And, when it comes to structuring them on a comp, think about what I could do with this record label if I didn't have to work. If I didn't have to have a job where I was gone from here for, you know, 11 hours every day, and then there's sleep. Don't forget about sleep, 6, 8 hours of sleep. How much time does that leave you after that? It leaves you, maybe like 5, 6 hours to do other things, and, you have a relationship, and, you have, you have to live your own life. You have to, save time for your hobbies, take some time for you, so I want my, people that want to sign Distortion to be realistic with that I'm, that's my life and that's what I do. But while I am at work, I am in a record store, so I can promote you there too.
Um, I think that's awesome. Speaking of promotion, how does a band go about promoting their shows? And is there anything effective that you have seen that works well?
I'm the absolute worst at social media. I'll tell
Mm.
you that right now. Like,
Mhm.
nobody agrees with me when I say that. I think I'm the worst at it. I can't handle 50 different platforms. You know, I just heard of one that I didn't even know about the other day called Mastodon. What the hell is Mastodon? I didn't even look into it yet. I'm like, I don't know what that is. That's some giant dinosaur, I thought, or something. Um, but yeah, like, people seem to, Instagram seems to be really strong for promoting shows. I just printed flyers. I print a very small amount of flyers to hang at the club and to hang at my store. I'm not one of these guys who goes around to storefronts anymore and hangs flyers. I don't have the time or energy for that. Um, but I will print up a small batch for, to put at the venue, to put it at my store, and to, handbills. Maybe I'll stick some in orders going out, even if the order is in, New England, somewhere that they can't get to Pittsburgh. But yeah, social media seems to be the way, for promotion. Uh, I'm not on TikTok. I I have a Twitter account. I don't know what's going on with it. I haven't been there in years. It's basically, for me, it's Facebook and Instagram. And with Instagram, I have Melanie from Solemn Shapes helping me with that because I don't have, and the time to, it's all time, I just can't. And, now there's Blue Sky and, some dinosaur related social media. And I like, I don't know what's going on. So maybe I'm not the best person to ask about that, but yeah, it seems to be, online promotions, if you have a band camp, I stress that any band, and I've had some Saviors submissions this last time around where I couldn't find, the artist band camp because they didn't have one. I'm like, you're submitting for Electronic Saviors 7 and you don't have a band camp, get on that. It's a high profile comp. You should have a band camp. People might hear your track and be like, whoa, these guys are awesome. I'm going to go check this, try to find them online. But there's some of these submissions that are on the premium edition that I could not find anything from them. And
Yeah.
and I'm just like, man, this is a good track. That's why I picked it and put it on there. But come on, guys, you should at least have a band camp if you're a band. Even if you're just one guy in your bedroom creating your music, put it on Bandcamp, man. It's the best platform there is. It's way better than Spotify for sure. You'll get a better payout. You'll get, I think it's more respectful of the artist itself. And yeah, so I really, I'll stress that Bandcamp #1.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And something that you touched on is to be able to be found, because sometimes it's like, if a person mentions a certain band and then you look online and you can't find anything about them.
Yeah.
So
I,
yes, yes.
yeah, a number of my bands, uh, interface being one of them. There's like 5 other interfaces. I think there's a couple different amulets too. Um, you might run into a problem on Spotify where it'll mesh your stuff together with one of the other versions of the bands that have the same name as you. We've not run into that with Red Locust yet. We put a K in there just to make sure.
There you
So
go.
yeah, sometimes you got to be, I mean, you guys have a #1 in your name, so there's nobody that's going to do that, for Alice. But yeah, I mean, that can happen for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things like you were mentioning when you were first starting out, how you didn't really know like how you were going to approach having a label, and here you are,
I still don't
um,
know what I'm doing. I'll be honest with you. I still don't. I 150 releases later, I still don't know. Like, no, I'm learning every day. I'm learning every day. Even like doing up my own contracts for my bands. I try to keep it simple. Try to keep it short. I try to keep it lighthearted. I'll put a pizza clause in there.
wow, a pizza clause? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I put a pizza clause in a number of them, and sometimes I'll throw that in there just to see if people are paying attention. Are you reading your contract? Did you see what #9 is?
I mean,
you know,
kind of the most important clause.
like the funny thing was when I sent that to Russian White, they sent back there like, we have one problem with the contract. Can we change something? And I'm like, yeah. What's the issue? They were like, the pizza clause we'd like to change to tacos if we can. So I'm like, hell yeah! And we ended up taking them to this really great taco joint after their gig here. So I stay true to my word. Dutch is fine. I don't always have to be the guy who treats. It does say Dutch is fine, but I mean, there is something that I didn't put in the contracts for the longest time that I didn't even think about, and that's if something happens to me. If
Mm.
like I would die, like what happens to the band? Obviously, they're released from their contract. Distortion will cease to exist. I told Chase, even though he's no longer with the label and it's just me, like he moved away. He's got a family now. And he still worked with me on Savior 7, though. I went down to Maryland to where he lives and we built it together. It was the first time I'd seen him in like 2 years. But even with Chase, I try to ask for his advice. I try to include him, whenever I can. So if something did happen to me, I'd want him to have the label, and because he was the one I started it with. So any of the, I told him, honestly, if something happened to me and I was no longer here, I said, dude, I know you don't have the patience or you have your own thing going. He has like an artisan business down there. Uh, he's not going to want to run a record label. I was like, try to at least maybe sell it to, somebody that's going to where the maybe the name could, carry on forward, and somebody like Cop International or Metropolis could maybe look after it, and like that's kind of how I feel about it, but just as long as the bands aren't left out in the cold, I wouldn't want that, for them.
Yeah.
I want the best for my bands, and anyone who trusts me with their music. um I mean, it's quite something, and you know, I don't ever want to do wrong by anybody, but I'm perfectly, uh, you know, I I understand that maybe not all relationships go the way you want them to, and that sometimes you might not agree on the best way to get to a certain point, but I kind of feel like everyone at this point, I think, has been pretty reasonable. There are a couple exceptions, but um, other than that, it's been a really good experience, running the label. So I really want it to grow, and I want more people involved. And if you feel like you can trust me with your music, I'll do my best for you. That's all I can tell you.
I really love that. I mean, I see that it's like, you know, well, I mean, I love your humble attitude of, I'm still learning,
Yeah.
I'm still learning, I'm still growing.
I mean, aren't we all really to a
Oh, yes.
degree, like
Yes.
we're like in life, we're never gonna really fully get there. I mean, if I look back at when I was in my mid 30s, even post cancer, I'm in a way different headspace now than I was then, but my
Yeah.
passion for music hasn't changed. Like there's some things that will always stay. I'll never lose the zest for doing this. Um, Ever, so unless I go completely bankrupt and I'm out of money, and I'll be like, sorry guys, we don't have any more money. But I don't ever see myself stopping doing this.
Do you have any like long-term visions that you might be able to share, or are you just kind of letting things in their
Yeah.
own year happen?
Well, I mean, both. I do have some stuff in the long term that I really would hope happens, but it can't, I would love to be able to make a living on doing this. Like I said, because I do feel like my job, as much as I do love my job and I love everybody there, they're my family. Eventually, like the original owner of the store passed away of COVID in 2021. Uh, and since the manager has taken it over and has done a really wonderful job, and I'm like, other than the two owners that the store was passed to, I'm like the next in charge. So um, everyone there, kind of depends on me showing up there every day to, open the place and get everything situated. But one day that store's not going to be there anymore. And I hope that by the time that happens, the label is in a place where it's self-sustaining, and I can actually live on doing it myself. And I could spend 100% of my time, well, maybe not 100%, but 80% of my time, because they're still my dog, concentrating on the label and doing things and trying to find new ways. But I mean, it's tough when people don't buy physical media as much, which is, the best thing a label can thrive on is physical stuff. That's where the money is. It's not in streaming. It's not from what I've seen. And and yeah, so the long term is to maybe do this for a living until I'm old and gray, and I hope to do it until the day I die. I don't want to ever not do it. It is my dream job. Don't get me wrong. And a lot of people do not get to do that. Nobody gets, you run into people rarely that are living that dream, you know. So I'm lucky that I get to do that, and that there are people out there contributing to letting me do that. But what it's going to take is, getting the attention of some of those bigger acts that can, maybe it is a circumstance of an act coming on the label that can help the label out more than I can help them, but that's the fact of it, and I think that's getting a break like that can be really important and game changing. And I'm kind of waiting on that. But again, going back to if I'm not even registering on the radar of some of these magazines or online blogs that we're doing, I clearly have a lot of work to do and a long way to go, so I just hope to get there one day before I'm, maybe it'll happen 20 years from now. And I'll be like, man, why couldn't this happen 20 years ago when I was talking to Tash on the internet? I could have maybe enjoyed those 20 years more, had it happened earlier, so, I just hope I don't get so frustrated with it that I throw up my arms and, you know, just be like, I quit, and flip the table, I don't, not that I think that will happen, but,
Hmm.
I want to be able to do this until I can't anymore, but,
Yeah.
we'll see, so, but until then, I'll just take it day by day and year by year and try to help, my bands become, more than that they are.
I mean, it's amazing how much you juggle. Like truly, like you're listing off all of these things and you do so many things. Like how do you manage your time and how do you manage your own self-care in the midst of all of that?
I go to the doctor on the regular once a year.
Hmm.
I go to the dentist twice a year. Uh, so I don't let things like that, like health stuff, I don't let that fall by the wayside. A lot
Hmm.
of, people in our lifestyle might not, they're all meds. I take fish oil in the morning. And my day starts when the alarm goes off and I leave the house, I go to work, I have my coffee or tea, my eggs. There's a stove at work, so I cook my own eggs, and and I get to work. I have a banana, I have strawberries, I have vegetables, and then I come home at night. I eat a meal, and that's pretty much it. And I do all my work, and then I go to bed, and I get up and I do it all over again. And like my girlfriend's a nurse. Like I we've been together for almost 11 years now, and I see her maybe twice a month. We get like 2 weekends together. Like we'll be out on a date or something. We'll go to a movie or we're having dinner and stuff. Yeah, after 11 years, we still all do those things that we did, after we were together for a few weeks. So I'll be out and, I'll get a message pop up from one of my artists. I'll be like, sorry, it's date night. Leave me alone. you know, so I gotta be, like that. But I mean, that's also a struggle, as to where, it's sometimes things aren't exactly where you want them to be, but you kind of, you just have to work at it. And it's a it does feel like I said to Ilker, it's an uphill battle constantly. And sometimes you get tired, like right now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling tired. I still have to work out tonight. So I'm doctor's orders. I have to,
Yes.
if I'm getting on stage, I have to lose about 10 pounds because, the holidays just happened and I love sweets. So so I put on like 10 pounds and I have to get rid of it so I can at least like not look like I have a dad bod when I'm playing at Mechanismus.
Well, one thing I really respect and have noticed about you is that you are actually really good at expressing boundaries. Like you will say, like, "Hey guys, I'm not going to be able to gotten a hold of this weekend." And like I think that actually is amazing that you are able to just like honestly express those boundaries in that way.
I have to, otherwise I'll go insane. I have to have time to, lay out on my porch on a Sunday and read comics or, hang out with my dog. But yeah, it's I don't ever really mean to be rude about it. It's just something that guys, I'm tired. I need some time, and there's also mental health to all of
Mhm.
that. Everyone needs time to themselves, and yeah, boundaries are very important. And I I refer to it as there's silly gymmers and then there's business gymmers. And there's also if you catch me at a festival, you'll see tipsy gymmers. So yeah, and everybody loves tipsy gymmers. Everybody loves tip. Oh, let's buy Jimmers a bunch of drinks and see what he says, kind of thing, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, you catch me at Mechanismus or especially at Dark Force Fest where you could carry a drink around wherever you are at 12 noon. And yeah, my friends Jessica and Tim, who Jessica is going to be with me at Mechanismus Festival working my table with me. And we couldn't get Tim to go, but they're going to both be at Dark Force Fest. And I walked into their hotel room. It was after hours at Dark Force last year. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys. This looks like a wines and spirits with beds. So just like, my God, you guys might have a problem. So so yeah, I mean, there is that, I have to, I don't drink alcohol very often at all unless I'm in that environment. If I'm in that environment, I will indulge, I will have a good time, I will be silly and goofy. And it's, you know what, I said this to Steven the other night. I'm like, it's all about those laughs. It's all about those laughs. Oh my God, I miss those when the festivals are over and I'm driving home and there's nobody with me and I'm like, God, I miss those laughs, man. And it's just like, or those hugs and seeing people that you haven't seen, like I'll tell you the same story that I told Steven the other night. Uh, at this Dark Force Fest last year, Ice Until played, and I have a profound affection for Jim and Britt and Vince and Dean, um, and I always stay at their house when I go to Chicago for Cold Waves, and spending time out there with them. I don't ever laugh. I don't ever laugh like that. Like the kind of laughter to where your stomach hurts. Like Jim, he has the ability to make me laugh like nobody can. Like he could just say something or just do something that will just, put me on the floor spinning around like Homer. And uh, they were there. They played out there, and I'm like, I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna be there. We're gonna be in a completely neutral area to where I don't have to worry about promoting a show in here in Pittsburgh for them, and I'm not out in Chicago and have to worry about the cold wave stuff and all that stuff that goes with that. We could just be in the party environment and hang out together. And it was after hours. I had met them. I had just come from my merch table. I had my cash box with me. So I'm like walking, I run into Brittany and Vince and Dean. Jim was up in the hotel room, and we all just, we were just all so happy to see each other. This was after the night they played, and they had to leave the next morning. And I was like, oh, let's go do this. Let's go do this. Let's go grab a bite or whatever. And, it was like 15 minutes of being with them. And they were like, we were all, three sheets to the wind at that point. And they had to go because they had to get up early to catch their flight home. And I remember them leaving, and I don't ever feel like I've ever felt more alone and then that moment when I had like looked so forward to seeing them and being with them in an environment like that, and I only got to be with them for 15 minutes, and I just got so profoundly sad, like real verklempt, and like I sat in one, that it was in the area, the sort of bar restaurant, you know what I'm talking about, where
Yeah.
like where that they do that kick-ass breakfast buffet every morning. That's amazing. Well, we were in there, and I just sat in like one of the booths, and like I just sat there for a minute, and just like real sad. And like Tim messaged me on the phone, and Crane too, and was like, "What are you guys doing?" Or what are you doing? And I was like, "Guys, I think I'm just gonna go up to my room." I was like, "I'm feeling really sad right now." And I don't know if it was, the booze, like hitting me like that, but I don't think it was. I was really sad that I only got to spend 15 minutes with people that I really care about. And but then I go to the elevator, and the elevator comes down, and Tim and Crane walk out of the elevator. They're like, "We're coming up with you." And so we just like
Oh.
we talked till like 3 or 4 in the morning. It was the best. It was amazing. So it completely like turned me around, and so yeah, it's just I have that. Like I'll do a show for a band like you guys. Like when we did the last show at Black Forge and I had to say my goodbyes, I'm the worst at it. I'm horrible. I'll give like 50 hugs before I say my final goodbye. I don't I don't like it. I get to spend a moment with you, a small moment in the span of your lifetimes. And as I said to Steve the other night, I'm like, there's no guarantee that it will ever happen again.
Yeah.
Not there's no
Yeah.
guarantees in life. You
Yeah.
have to, if you're going to see somebody that you care about, you're seeing a band uh that means a lot to you, that you might know personally. I mean, try to, make that known to them. That might completely make their day or week,
Mhm.
and just be like, dude, I fucking love you, dude. And I'm sorry if I can't say fucking, but I just did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um
All words are welcome.
you can edit that out if you want to. But
No. Well,
uh
it's all live, so but
yeah.
yeah, it's all words are welcome.
Oh, all right. All right. Um so yeah, I mean, it's some people maybe not that expressive, but I am. I will totally tell you, you know, I might not see you ever again, so please be safe, be cautious, use discretion.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
be good to people, because you might not get the chance to see them again. So that's kind of how I try to carry that with me through every, aspect of life. But so it's 7:41. We got time for a couple more questions before I have to jump off of here and get these pre-orders up for you guys.
So I wanted to share some love. Cranefish and Jen Gilbert are both expressing their love for Tipsy Jimmers.
Oh, yeah, it was Jen's fault at Cold Waves last year. Her and her friend Erica took me out after having a particularly bad night at the table, and we went to the after party, and yeah, they got me nice and tipsy, and that was fun. Uh, what did I scream out? There was a band playing. It was like two techno guys, Nevada Hardware. They were playing, and they were awesome. And the one guy's name was Doug, so I screamed out, "I love the Doug!" Like right as the song cut off, like I screamed out, "I love the Doug!" and what his brother, I guess, was in the crowd or what, like came over and was like, "Who said that?" I was like, "I'm gonna give you a CD." That was awesome. I was like, "That was me."
Oh, I
So,
love that.
so yeah, I love Jen and Crane, both amazing people.
Yes. Crane is saying, can't wait to repeat that this year, promise.
Oh, all right. Don't let me get sad.
Oh, yes. No sad Jimmers, please. Yeah. No, I love that it's like you're able to share your heart in that way. As we were chatting earlier about the fact that I think it makes it, I think, easier for other people to do the same. And I think that's one of your many beautiful qualities is just having this big heart that you are so willing to share with all of us. And we're very grateful for that.
You only live once, right? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? It's maybe that's like I joked because Steven said something like that the other night on Facebook, and I was like, I might need a pacemaker one day, you know, So yeah, it's you know, just gotta kind of live your life and be true to yourself, and if I wasn't like this, I don't know who else I would be, but. Yeah. Anyone else? We got anyone else in chat? I'm not looking at chat right now, so is there a way to do that on here? I just see
Oh,
you.
I'm lobbing them over for you. So,
Oh, all right.
um, well, if there aren't any more questions, I just want to say thank you so much to Jim Semonik, our Jimmers.
Oh, it's Semonik, by the way.
Semonik, I've been saying it wrong all this time. I'm so sorry.
It's
Now I
okay.
know. Thank you for
I
the correction.
I've gotten it all my life. It's all good.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
all
It's
good.
funny because my full name is Natasha and I've gotten Nastasha like so many times. So Tosh is a lot
Nastasha.
easier. Nastasha. Yeah. But thank you.
I feel very Nastasha about this.
Or I've had some of my bandmates that have referred to things as a catastrophe because I'm very clumsy. So
Ah, I love it. It's awesome.
yes, yes.
Thank you so much for having me on here.
Thank you.
It's I'll come back on anytime you want to have me on, and come back to Pittsburgh soon so we could
We
hang.
will. Yes,
And
yes. Proper hangs. We can't wait to hear the amazing new Electronic Saviors that's coming out very, very soon. It's
yes,
the clock is ticking,
yeah,
so
I'm
we
sure there's
are.
people like waiting by their keyboards on the Distortion site, being like, "Where the hell is it?" All right. Well, I hope I can get it up there in time. Let me see if I have the artwork yet. Let me see.
Oh,
She sent
drum
it.
roll, drum roll.
Oh, she
Are we
said
here
check.
yet?
She said check my email. So it is. You guys are going
Okay.
to see the
Oh,
artwork very as soon as I get off of here. I'm posting
oh
it.
my
So
gosh. Exciting.
yeah, yes.
Yay. Well,
All right.
thank you so much.
Thank you
So
guys.
wonderful to see you.
Love you.
Yes, much, much love. And thank y'all so much for hanging out and for the amazing questions and thoughtful commentary. It's so great to see everybody on here. Thank you again, Jim.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to me ramble.
Always.
All right.